everyone, and welcome to Thorough Newspaper Analysis, which is brought to you by Lawseco. So today we will be discussing two articles. The first one is from The Hindu, which is titled as Health First, Fiscal Prudence Later. So basically both the articles today are talking in some or the other way about the health itself. And the first article talks about the importance of bringing in the culture of LPG cylinders, though it was made very much successful, but due to the hike in the prices of the subsidy, basically the hike in the prices of LPG cylinders, the trend has reversed again. So what are the repercussions of that, and what should we be doing in this direction have been discussed in this article. The second one is from the Indian Express, which is titled as In Digital Health Mission, Equity First. So this also talks about the recently proposed National Digital Health Mission, which talks about digitizing the entire health ecosystem in the country. And it says that it is very much important that along with this digitalization of the health sector, we also bring in equal access to all the people, keeping in mind the digital divide that we have in our country. And finally, we have the news and flash column for a prelims exam. So if you are preparing for CLAT 2021 or 22, you can enroll yourself for the Project Maverick, which is Lawseco's CLAT prep exam course. The course fee is very much nominal. It's only for ₹100. You can find it in the description box below. With this, let's see what is the multiple choice question from yesterday's discussion. Simlipal Biosphere Reserve is in which state? Your options are Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Odisha, or Kerala. You can write down your answer in the comment section below. So this is the descriptive question for the day. What do you understand by the National Digital Health Mission? Suggest some ways to make it more efficient for the large-scale public use. So once you're done with today's article, you'll definitely be able to understand the context of this question. Let's understand the first article, which talks about the LPG use. So basically, what do we mean by the LPG? It's the liquefied petroleum gas. So it's just the normal cylinders, the domestic cylinders that all of us use in our homes. But unfortunately, not all of us are blessed to have use this particular cylinder. Since there are various areas in a country, the remote areas, various villages, etc., where the LPG cylinders are still not available. Further, as we know that the PMUY scheme, which was the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, which had done a very, very successful job in providing the LPG connections to 8 million poor households, it had really done a good job. But now, since there has been an increase in the prices to about 50% in this financial year, this has basically demotivated and disincentivized people to use these particular LPG cylinders. Now, this is a normal and very natural phenomena which we tend to see in any kind of an economy. For example, if we consume a particular kind of tea, let's say that the rate of that particular tea increases. So definitely we start consuming it less, or either we find some other kinds of substitutes to it. Let's say, for example, coffee, which might be more, it might be available at a cheaper cost as compared to this particular tea. Similar is the case happening with the LPG cylinders as well, that since the time this increase has taken place in the LPG cylinder prices, what has happened is that the households which had already with a lot of difficulty had moved towards the LPG cylinders, who were already not able to afford them very easily, have now switched back to the fuel wood or other kinds of kerosene and other kinds of fuels for cooking their food. So here, what steps can be taken by the government to promote LPG use? Before that, we need to understand why are we focusing so much upon the use of LPG, and to put down the use of either wood or other kinds of liquids and other kinds of energy resources available for cooking food and other household purposes. There are two most important reasons for that. Firstly, if we talk about the health, so the fumes, the kind of smoke and the kind of particulate matter that comes out of the ashes and the smoke of these fuel wood or these kinds of fuels, that is very much hazardous. And that is why, since in India, most of the women are involved into domestic cooking and other kinds of related activities, it is the women that face a lot of health issues due to this kind of smoke that they inhale every now and then. And the second biggest reason is of the release of these greenhouse gases and other, we have the particulate matter 2.5. Basically, as we know, we talk about the air pollution, the severe problem of air pollution. So there are various pollutants, there are various ingredients that compose the entire air, that pollutes the environment. Out of those, the PM5, or what we can also call as the particulate matter 2.5, also it is one of the most dangerous and one of the most harmful particulate matter that you can find. And here, The biomass which is used for cooking contributed, like the biomass is like the dried cow dung cakes, etc. All of these which are used for the cooking, they contribute approximately 30% to the ambient, to this wholesome of particulate matter 2.5 at the national level. So this is really huge. And surprisingly, it is more than the contribution which comes from transport, crop residue, and even coal burning. Thus, it is very much important that this significant source of the particulate matter 2.5 is cut down, and also it might provide some various health benefits to the women, specifically in the rural areas. So now here are the steps that can be taken in this direction. Firstly, to increase transparency in the pricing of subsidized LPG. Now, as we know that for various rural households, the government provides the LPG cylinders at highly subsidized prices. But here, the problem is that the transparency is not available, due to which the decisions which are taken at time are never being able to be questioned, due to which many a times arbitrary decisions are taken, thus hampering the effective use and propagation and distribution of the LPG cylinders. So how the prices are correlated with global LPG prices. Now, what do we exactly mean by transparency here is that, see, it is not like that the liquefied petroleum gas or our other energy needs have been completely, they're completely domestic. Definitely, India also imports approximately 80 to 85% of its energy supplies from various countries, specifically from the Middle East. So what happens is that whenever there is a price hike or the price increases in the LPG at the global level, definitely there has to be an impact on the price of LPG at the domestic level as well. But what ratio does it include, or how much increase or how much are they correlated has to be discussed, and that is why transparency is very important. Then more information about price buildup and subsidy, and thus how much subsidy is provided on how many or what kind of LPG cylinders is also an essential thing to be thought about. The second thing that we should be discussing and should be pointing out here is the better targeting of subsidy. Now, by better targeting of subsidy, we mean that, for example, there are 100 people in a particular country. So not always all the 100 people would require that subsidy. Definitely out of these 100, maybe 20 would be those who are at the most vulnerable situation. So these are the ones that highly are in need of these subsidies. Then maybe the rest 15 or 20 people are like, they struggle with the prices, but still they can deal with the prices. So definitely there are different categories of people, and that is why we should do more efficient targeting of the subsidy. So we should provide households exhibiting low consumption or decline in LPG consumption with greater subsidy. Now, by this we mean that we should keep a complete so we should basically keep a monitor on those households that are exhibiting low consumption or decline in the LPG consumption with greater subsidy. So basically those households which are on a greater verge of moving towards the fuel wood and other conventional sources of energy, we should definitely be making more efforts to provide them with the LPG cylinders, and that too with a greater subsidized prices. Now, if we specifically talk about the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, so as we just discussed, that it had been very successful in providing connections to 8 million poor households. And basically, it really helped to reduce women's drudgery and indoor air pollution. As we just discussed, that the various pollutants that come out of the smoke from these fuel wood and other resources of energy are very much detrimental for the health of the women, specifically because they are more into cooking and domestic chores. Then, but the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana beneficiaries consumed only about half of the LPG compared to regular customers. And this, though, has been very much successful. But as compared to the other people who have been always and general users of the LPG cylinders, it has still not been able to achieve the targets as they were set in the initial days. Now, the basic and the most important reasons for this are twofold. Firstly, effective price of LPG is not affordable for such households. Now, the first thing that we are talking, and that is why we are saying that the subsidized rates are very much important, because the cylinders, like for example, if they're costing rupees 800 or 900 for a household that in total earns for, let's say, only 4 to 5,000 a month, definitely it's not feasible for them to buy these LPG cylinders. And the second reason is that many rural consumers have access to freely available biomass. Now, those people who live in the rural areas and are surrounded by the forest, and also they have their own animal and their own cow and other animal in their home. So, other resources of energy like the dried cow dung cakes, fuel, wood, etc. are very easily and available, and that too for free of cost. So that is why they prefer to save money over here, and instead they do not use the LPG cylinders. So that is why even social culturing and bringing up the entire thought process is also an important thing to inculcate the habit of using the LPG cylinders, even keeping in mind that they are also pocket friendly for every household of the country. So these are some infographics. You can go through them as well for your own fact building if you wish to. Then with the second article, let's discuss about the health data infrastructure. So the National Digital Health Mission, which was announced by Pradhan Mantri, which is the Prime Minister of India, on 15th August 2020, aimed to develop the integrated digital health infrastructure of India. Now, basically by the National Digital Health Mission, we mean that it would actually make efforts to digitize the health system. Now, by digitizing our health system, what do we mean? Like, for example, if a person has to go for a particular appointment to a doctor or a hospital, that person carries all of his reports and x-rays, ultrasounds, and everything that are associated with his health issues, and then he moves, taking them from one place to another. But one of the features of the National Digital Health Mission would be that all his documents, all his health documents and other reports would be available online. So simply it would be just on a click that all of his documents would be available, and thus he would not really have to carry all of these things from one place to another. The other benefit of this particularly would be that it would become very easy to consult doctors over a digital platform rather than physically moving from one place to another, which specifically, if we keep in mind the COVID-19 scenario, has become really difficult. So there are some policy changes that are needed in this direction to make the National Digital Health Mission even more effective and to increase its outreach towards all the people in the country. First is theory of pathways. The first is theory of pathways to public good needs to be carefully developed. Now here, what do we mean by public good is the first thing that we need to understand. By public good, we mean that anything that is available to public at large. For example, the railways, it is a public good. For example, the roads are a public good. Now this basically makes it an important point that every resource which is important for the development of the human being and for the economical growth as well, these are available to every person irrespective of his economic status, his caste, his creed, his religion, everything. It's just that it's a public good and it should be available with equity and equal access to every person. And thus, it is said in this article that even the National Digital Health Mission should do away with the digital divide that we see in the country. And thus, all of these resources should be equally available to all the people in the country. The second one is that the potential tensions between public good and individual rights must be examined. Now, here, many a times what happens is that many resources might be available by the private hospitals, and they might not be willing to share or to give some particular kinds of treatments or resources to the people who belong to the rural categories or poor categories, because they might not be able to pay back the required fees. So now here falls the conflict between the provision for the public good and the individual rights as well. And that is why it needs to be made sure that a right and beautiful balance is drawn between both the two ideas, because it is important that not only the public is brought towards the betterment, but also the individual rights are also given an importance, because our constitution provides everyone an individualistic right as well to grow and for the profession as well. Then the linking of digital identity with other sectors such as banking, insurance, education, etc. Now, one thing that in the previous one I would like to add before we move towards the second one is that a good example of this is the provision of the corporate social responsibility, which has been brought under the Companies Act. So by the corporate social responsibility, we mean that even the private companies that have a turnover beyond a certain limit, they will have to contribute an amount of their profit towards the social responsibility or towards the upliftment of the social cause. And that is why a good balance has been drawn between the individualistic rights as well as the public welfare. So the next point is linking of digital identity with other sectors such as banking, insurance, education, etc. Now with this, it will make it a complete and wholesome idea wherein even the transactions would become easier. The health insurances can also be included in this, and people can be educated and more jobs can be generated in this sector in the coming future. Then operational requirements of the data infrastructure, which conform to the above 3 points. Now, for all of these, what do we need in hand is data infrastructure. So definitely, if we are talking about the digital health mission, we need to have good computer systems. We need to have good internet connections. We need to have people with good know-how of the data usage. So that is why data infrastructure needs to be developed in an effective and more efficient manner. Then build an effective system that can engender people's trust and build a transparent process of design and refinement through openness and public consultations. So definitely people should be made to trust this particular system, because definitely the conventional method is that we go and we talk to the doctor, we have our own reports, we believe on ourselves. But once if the people would be made to ask to use scanned copies or just use digital copies of their reports and everything that is available, it might be a chance that they might not be able to trust to upload their personal credentials over these portals. And definitely for this, it is very much important that the data protection bill, which is still a bill in our country, should be made a particular act, and thus such data under the National Digital Health Mission should also be protected, so that people can develop their trust in the particular idea. Now, how health data infrastructure will help? Firstly, it can play a key role in public health management. Firstly, how it will help in the diagnostics. It can be made more efficient in the long run. Then management of health episodes, public health monitoring, socio-economic studies, epidemiology research, prioritizing resource allocation and policy interventions, and also make healthcare more organized, efficient, and effective. Because here it will bring all the people concerned and all the doctors all in a complete one under one umbrella, and thus it will become more easier. It will become more efficient and easier for them to consult the doctors and also to seek more expert advice for their problems. So finally, let's discuss what do we have for news in flash today. International Women's Day. So yes, we have, it is Women's Day today. Congratulations to all of you and to all the people who are viewing this news analysis today. So it is celebrated on every 8th March of every year. The background behind this is that it began over a century ago as a commemoration of the struggles of women factory workers and was first organized by the socialist movements. And in 1920s, it began to be celebrated annually by communist parties, first in the USSR and then China. Basically, it was during the Russian Revolution when the women over there had played a very important role, and thus Women's Day is celebrated to commemorate their struggle. And it was established by the United Nations in 1997 in the wake of International Women's Year in 1975. And the second one, China approved first downstream dams on Brahmaputra. China's new 5-year plan for 21 to 25 approved the building of first dams on the lower reaches of Yarlung-Zangbo River. Please keep in mind that Yarlung-Zangbo River is itself the Brahmaputra River, but it is known as by this name Yarlung-Zangbo in the Chinese side. So as you can see, this river is flowing over here. Basically, when it enters India, it is known as Brahmaputra River. And just before India, in the Chinese territory, it is called as the Yarlung-Zangbo River. Please keep it in mind for your prelims exam as well. So these projects include hydropower base, coastal nuclear power, power plants, and power transmission channels as well. So this is a new development that has taken place on this area. So these are the locations 1, 2, 3, and 4 over there on the Chinese side. It is very close to Arunachal Pradesh in India. So this was all for the day. We hope it was a good session for you all. Thank you so much for joining in. If in case you wish to download the PDF of today's slides, you can join our Telegram group. The link is there in the description box below. Also join our CLAT quiz every morning 9 a.m. on the Law Seekho CLAT Prep channel. Thank you so much.